Okay, I'll try and explain using an example. Right. Let's take 1920. 100 years ago. I think we had Spanish flu or something during 1920s. No? 2020 we have COVID. Right. Anyway, 1920. Let's say your grandfather, not your grandfather, your great grandfather. Let's assume he was working at that time, and so let's say he was the highly educated, most sought after doctor, right? 100 years ago. So let's say he was drawing a salary of 50 rupees a month. 50 rupees a month. During that time, this 50 rupees would have been more than enough for him to live a very luxurious life. Right? And not only for 1 month, but for the entire year. So 50 rupees a month, he will spend the entire year, no problem at all. For everything, right? He might even go overseas and come. It's 50 rupees a month salary. Right? That was the case, no? So 100 years later, 2020, you get to know about your great-grandfather. Right? So your parents will tell you that you had a great-grandfather. You all are now bankers struggling to do your banking exams. You had a great-grandfather who was a doctor 100 years ago. Right? The whole country came after him. He was drawing a monthly salary of 50 rupees and living like a king. Right? So you also decide to do medicine and become a doctor. Okay. So what if you also offered a job, same thing that your grandfather did, for a salary of 50 rupees a month? 2020, in honor of your grandfather, you are willing to draw a salary of 50 rupees a month, the exact salary that your grandfather drew 100 years ago. Are you going to accept this job? Are you willing to accept the job?
No.
You're not. Why not? 50 rupees, no? 100 years ago, 50 rupees. Today also 50 rupees. Same salary. Why can't you accept? Why not? Huh? Why not?
The value you have for 50 rupees has dropped by now?
Come again?
The value you have for 50 rupees have dropped by now compared to those days?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Right, because 50 rupees drawn 100 years ago will carry you through the year, no? And you can eat and drink like a king. But 50 rupees, if you draw today, you can't even have a plain tea. Correct? That's what you all meant, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So no chance you're going to take this job offer. It's out. I just throw it out of the window. So what has happened? The same 50 rupees, isn't it? 50 rupees, 100 years ago and today. Amount is the same, but the actual value is different. which one is worth more? 50 rupees you received 100 years ago, or 50 rupees you received today? What do you all think? Which one is worth more? Which one carries the higher value? Obviously, the 50 rupees 100 years ago carries a higher value. All right. So why is that? How come the value has declined? Although the amount is the same, how come the value has declined? And if I may give you another example, right? So if you are given a choice of, say you are given a lottery ticket, right? And you win the lottery, and you are given a choice of getting $1 million today or $1 million in 10 years' time. Which one will you prefer? You prefer to get the $1 million today or in 10 years?
Today.
In 10 years. Sorry? Today. Yes. Obviously today. Why? Because the value of money changes with time. The same amount of money received earlier is worth more than the same amount of money you received somewhere down the line. Right? Meaning the value of money declines over a period of time. That's called time value of money. The value of money drops over a period of time. Why? Why does this happen? Yes, very good. So inflation is one reason. Right. So due to inflation, what you can buy with $1 million today will be more than what you can buy, what $1 million will buy you 10 years down the line, right? Unless there is a steep drop in prices. But overall, yes, that is the concept. Inflation. Inflation erodes the value of money. What else? Yeah. Uncertainty. Very good. Huh? Future value is unpredictable. Okay, so there is uncertainty. Uncertainty. You don't know what is going to happen in the future, right? 10 years down the line, you might not be able to find the person who promised to give you $1 million. And so you'd rather have it today rather than waiting for 10 years. That's because of uncertainty. Then there might be new taxes coming in. Uncertainty. What else? When money is not issued, yes, because of uncertainty. Political factors, okay? Yeah. Good. Yeah. So all of that boils down to uncertainty, isn't it? Money may not be issued, uncertain political factors, all those because of uncertainty, right? Then if you had $1 million today, you might probably invest it and earn interest. Yeah? Let's call it opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. Right. Because you will lose investment income. There is market volatility or market uncertainty again. Opportunity cost. Then, if you want, you can spend it on lavishly. No, you can spend on whatever you want. Eat and drink like there is no tomorrow with the 1 million. Right? You have to forego what it can buy you for now. Right? For these reasons, the value of money usually declines over a period of time. Isn't it? Right. Anything else? Right, so future value. What do you mean by future value? Now, going back to your grandfather's example once again. Your grandfather was earning 50 bucks. And you wanted to draw an equivalent salary 100 years down the line. What do you think will be the equivalent of 50? 50 rupees 100 years ago. How do you calculate it? That is called the future value of the 50 rupees. Okay. 100 years down the line, how much is it worth? It's called the future value. Future value. Yeah. And it's calculated using this formula. A dollar in hand today is worth more than a dollar to be received in the future, because if you had it now, you could invest it, earn interest, and end up with more than a dollar in the future. The process of going to future values from present values is called compounding. Compound interest, you all would have heard. For this formula, you need to remember future value is the present value into 1 plus r into the power n. You need to remember this. This you need to memorize. Shall we try this example? Very simple example. Go through the example. To illustrate, assume that you plan to deposit $100 in a bank that pays a guaranteed 5% interest each year. How much would you have at the end of year 3? Right. Let's assume this is compound interest. So we'll do it under 2 scenarios. And before I forget, right, this is compound interest. Simple interest, where you don't get interest on interest, is future value is the present value into 1 plus r into the times n. 1 plus r times n. This is called simple interest. Right. Before we do any calculations, let me also explain something else. You need to remember both of these formulas. So this is today, which I will denote using 0. This is 1 year, 2 years, 3. Let's say this is n. Right. Let's assume you're investing $100 today, right, at a rate of 10% for a period of 1 year. So you are investing $100 today at a rate of 10% for a period of 1 year. Now, how much will you end up at the end of 1 year? Which I will call future value after 1 year. Right. And the amount you are investing today will call the present value. Okay, very simple calculation. How do you calculate how much you will get after 1 year? Okay. So future value after 1 year will be 100 into 1 plus 10%. So this is capital plus interest, and you will end up with 110. Correct? Right. So let's do the next step. How much will you get after if you invest the same, the maturity amount, right? Meaning 110. If you invest for another year, another 1 year, at a rate of 10%, how much will you get? How much will you end up with after at the end of the second year? The $100 is invested for another 1 year. Sorry, the 110 rupees is invested for another year at a rate of 10%. How much will you end up with after at the end of the second year? Understood? And so you're investing $110 for another year at 10%. How much will you end up with at the end of the second year? 121. How do you get it? Future value of the second year, right? So you are investing 110 into 1 plus 10%. Correct? Now, how do you get 110? 100 into 1 plus 10%. So if without writing 110, I will write 100 into 1 plus 10%. $110. That is this part. Into 1 plus 10%. So it comes to 100 into 1 plus 10% into 1 plus 10% is 1 plus 10% squared. Which is 121. Right. So here you end up with 121. Then you invest 121 again at 10% for another 1 year. How much will you end up with at the end of the third year? $121 invested again for a period of 1 year at a rate of 10%. How much will you end up with at the end of the third year? $32.1. Okay. Now the point is, I'm not interested in the answer. Right? I just need to know how to derive it. Okay. Look, yeah, you're right. Your answer is correct. 120. Sorry, it's 121. Right? You're starting off with 121, which you invest for 1 year at rate of 10%. Now, how do you get 121? This it's equal to 100 into 1 plus 10% square, isn't it? Into 1 plus 10%. Right? So 100 into 1 plus 10% squared into 1 plus 10% is 100 into 1 plus 10% cube. Huh? Right? So likewise, if you keep rolling over your investment with interest. Right. Roll over the investment with interest for a period of 10 years. Sorry, let's say this is not 10 years. Let's say 4 years. Fourth year, at the end of fourth year, how much will you get? Again at 10%. Fourth year. Yeah, this is 132.1, you're right. Fourth year, how much do you get? Yeah, it will be 100 into 1 plus 10% into the power 4, isn't it? Third year, 1 plus 10, sorry, first year, 1 plus 10% to the power, this is 1. Second year, 100 into 1 plus 10% power 2. Third year, 100 into 1 plus 10% power 3. So the fourth year will be 100 into 1 plus 10% to the power 4. Nth year, n. I keep rolling up to the nth year. How much will you get? If you keep rolling it for n years, what would be the answer? Not 5, huh? Not 5. N years, I mean. Not 5. N years. N number of years. N. Yeah, it will be 100 into 1 plus 10% into the power n. N number of years. Okay. If I look at this formula, see 100 is the present value. 10% is the interest rate, R. Okay, so instead of using 100, if I say future value is 100 is the present value into 1 plus 10% is R to the power n. Clear? I can't see. Can you see what I wrote? Okay. Better? Right. So this formula is what we just discussed. Remember the compound interest formula? Future value is present value into 1 plus r to the power n. Understand? So this is how you derive it. Okay. You need not know how to derive, but this will help you understand it. Okay, any questions on this? Is this clear? Now it's very important that you understand the basics, right? Because this calculation, this formula, present value, future value formula, well, if you ask me how important it is, let me put it this way. If you are doing more advanced exams, right? More advanced exams, maybe like CFA and all that, about if you understand this concept, it will solve about 50% of your issues. Very important concept, the present value, future value concept. Your 50%, you will win 50% of your battle. Your 50% of your battle is won if you understand the basics. It's very, very critical that you understand this bit. Any questions on this? No questions. So I hope this is clear. Right now, this is called compound interest. You keep compounding the interest. What does it mean? It means you keep reinvesting your interest also, right? You keep adding the interest component into your capital. Right? You started with 100, then it moved up to 110 because you're adding interest of 10. Then you're adding interest of 11. So likewise, you keep adding the interest component. Right? Then you're getting interest on interest, compound interest. Yeah. Okay, so the next scenario, let's say, hold on. And the next scenario, let's say you invest $100 again for 10% for 1 year, right? First year, 100 into 1 plus 10%. $110. Right. And the second year, right? You're reinvesting not the interest, but only the capital. Right? Only the capital is being reinvested. For the second year, you will get $110 again. Okay. Likewise, every year you keep getting only 110. N year calculation. Right now, n can be any number. It can be 1, can be 2, 3, likewise any number, 10, even 1,000. So in general, it's called n. Clear, Sanjay? Understood? Right. Okay. Now if you keep pulling the interest out, right, each and every year you get 110 only, meaning interest of 10. Okay. You don't get interest on interest. Huh? So every year you get the same amount, interest of 10. Now let's say if it's simple interest basis, simple interest, right? That means you get interest only on the capital, not interest on interest, but only on capital. Then the future value is again 100 into 1 plus 10%, 110. Right? The interest component is only 10. Okay. Second year, interest is only 10. How do you get 10? It is 10% into 100. Okay. So likewise, if you continue doing the same thing, let's say you kept it for 2 years. Right? So total interest you will get is 20 plus your capital of 100 gives you 120. Yeah. So this is the capital, your capital, plus capital plus interest gives the maturity amount. Now how do you get 20? 100 plus 10 plus 10. So this is the interest. This is 100 plus, you get 10 from this, 10% into 100 plus 10% into 100. Right. So 100 is common. 1 plus 10% plus 10%. It's 100, 1 plus 2 times 10%. Yeah. So that's after the second year. So likewise, after the third year, you will have a maturity amount of 1 plus 3 times 10%. And After n years, you'll have 100 into 1 plus n times 10%. This, my friends, is the simple interest formula. Simple interest. Okay. So remember both the equations. Compound interest, future value equals present value into 1 plus r to the power n. Simple interest, one plus r times n. And you all need to remember both. Both equations need to be memorized. Okay, so any questions? No questions? Right, so let's go back to the example. Assume that you plan to deposit $100 in a bank that pays a guaranteed 5% interest each year. How much would you have at the end of year 3? Right, so let's do it on the both methods, simple interest as well as compound. Okay, you have $100, which is the present value. Interest is 5%, and n is 3. Okay, so on the compound interest, remember, write these formulas, right? When you do the calculation, you have to always write the formula. It will also help you to draw the timeline. It's best if you can draw a timeline and do it. Can you all see the board? Can you all see the board?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. Yeah, so let's draw the timeline and do it. Present value is 100. 1 plus R is 5% to the power 3. One 11576. Here you get 100 into 1 plus 5% into 3 is 100 into 1.15. And 15. Okay, so see the impact of interest on interest. If you are given both these options to invest, either to receive interest on interest, compound interest, or simple interest, which one will you prefer to prefer? You prefer to invest with compound interest. Yeah, compound interest. You're right. Right. You should go for the compound interest option always whenever possible. Now, let me ask you some other question. Right. Let's say one of your ancestors, 2000 years ago, if one of your ancestors had invested $1 for you, right, at a rate of, let's say, 1%. Got the question? I'll draw it for you. It's 2000 years ago, 2000, eh? Your ancestor had invested $1 for you at 1%. 1% interest. Right? So let's just assume that 2000 years ago, they were using dollars and there were banks and all that, and they were investing at, and they gave interest at 1%. Right? 1%, you invest $1. Let's say you had two ancestors, two great grandfathers. Now, one guy was a mathematician, other fellow did not know mathematics. So let's say the mathematician ticked renew with interest, right? Roll over with interest. The other guy did not tick, right? One guy ticked compound interest, the other guy ticked simple interest. How much do you think you will end up with today, 2000 years later? For that simple mistake, you take compound interest, the other guy takes simple interest. 2000 years later, what would be the impact? How much will you end up with? Can you do a calculation and tell me? So compound interest, you would have inherited 1 into 1 plus 1% into the power 2000. And simple interest, your inheritance will be 1 into 1 plus 1% into 2000. Yes, Marisha, I think you're right. Here you will end up with 1 plus 1% into 2000 is 20. Right? So you will end up after 2000 years, you will end up with $21, and you will be cursing your ancestor. But the guy who had invested under compound interest, yeah, I think you're right. 439,286,205. Okay. So look at the impact. Can be massive, isn't it? The impact of interest on interest. Huh? Amazing, no? You all would have heard that mathematician story. Okay, that's the effect of compounding. Huh? Effect of compounding. Well, this mathematician, the king, wanted to reward a mathematician, right? So he had asked him what he wants. So this guy had some grudge with the king, and he wanted to take his revenge also, right? So there was something like that also. He proposed a very simple formula. You know, a chessboard has how many squares? Something we learned in grade 2. Chessboard has how many squares? You all know chess, no? Very good. Yeah. Chess is not this, that is carom, but you know chess, right? With the king. The knights and all. Yeah. 64 squares. Okay. So what this mathematician did was, he gave the king a chessboard, right? And he told him that he wants rice. His reward will be rice. How much rice? Simple. Take this chessboard. In the first square, you put 1 grain of rice. It's 1. Second square, you put 2 grains of rice. Okay, so likewise, you keep multiplying by 2. The third square, you put 4 grains. Okay. So 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 16. Likewise. Okay, so likewise, fill the entire chessboard and give. Okay, so the king couldn't stop laughing. A simple thing. Yeah. Now, how many grains of rice do you think you will get if you come to the last square? When you get to the last square, how many grains of rice do you need? 4096. Now, how do you calculate this? The first square, 2, just one grain, it is 2 to the power 0. Second square, 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 5, 2 to the power 6, 2 to the power 7. And the last square, you need 2 into the power 63. How much is that? 2 into the power 63. Yeah. 2 to the power 63 is 9. This is approximate. Yeah. Approximately. Comes to that many grains of rice. Which is unfathomable, isn't it? Yeah. Any questions? So the granaries in the entire country was not enough to fill this. Okay. So better not mess around with math guys, or mathematics. Mathematicians, don't mess around. Clear? Any questions? No questions? Okay. Yeah, so the compounding process. Yeah, this is $1 invested at various interest rates. Okay. Something like this. What happens if R is 0? If R is 0, then the future value, present value into 1 plus 0, the power n. This is present value 1 into 1, right? 1 plus 0 is 1. You get the present value. That's when R is 0. What happens when N is 0? N 0. N 0 means today. Then the future value, present value into 1 plus R. N is 0. Any number to the power 0 is? Now, any number to the power 0. Power 0 is 1. Right. Any number to the power 0 is 1. This is present value times 1. Present value. So if N is 0 or R is 0, future value is equal to present value. Right. And as you keep increasing R, that means high interest, the present value, the future value will increase. As you keep increasing N, then also future value keeps increasing, which is what is given in this graph. Right.
So you said if R and N is 0, what? Can you come again on that, please?
R and N. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If R and N is 0, any of R and or N is 0, the future value is equal to present value. Right. It's illustrated in the graph also. See, if interest rate is 0, if R is 0, future value is equal to present value. It remains at flat, no? And when N is 0, that means the time is 0, that is today, then also future value is equal to present value, obviously. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. And as you keep increasing the interest rate, right, as interest rates keep increasing, the future value will also increase. And as the time period also increase for a given interest rate, then also the future value will increase. Okay. So any questions up to now? No questions? All right. Yeah, so let's try this one. How do you calculate future values when there are more frequent compounding intervals? Right, calculating future values when there are frequent compounding intervals. Then what happens is, let me explain using an example. If you are offered a rate of 10% for a year, and you're asked to decide whether to invest quarterly, semi-annually, daily, or annually, which one will you prefer? Will you prefer to invest one shot annual 10%, quarterly 10%, or semi-annual 10%? That is what we are going to calculate now, right? And it's given by this formula. Future value is the present value into 1 plus R divided by T to the power N into T. T is the number of compounding intervals. Right? So if it's annual, if annual interest, T is 1. Okay, because if it's annual for 1 year, here you get only one compounding period interval. If it's semi-annual, T will be semi-annual. How many semi-annual periods are there for a year? Yeah. The number of semi-annual periods for a year?
2.
2. Quarterly?
3.
No. Quarter is how many months?
3 months.
3 months, right? So
It's
how
4.
many quarters? Yeah.
4.
4. Monthly? Is 12. Daily?
360.
Good. Okay. So let's try this example. If $100 is invested in an account at an annual nominal interest rate of 10% 5 years, what are the future values and effective interest rates for annual, semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, and daily compounding? Annual. Percent value of 100, R is 10, N is 5 years. Yeah. It's annual, T is 1. Future value 100 into 1 plus R is 10% divided by 1 times N is 5 times 1. 161.05. And semi-annual is 2. $162.89. Quarterly is 3. T is 4. Is 12. $164.53. And daily $164.86. Okay, so if you are given a choice to decide whether you will receive interest, annual, semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, or daily, which one will you prefer? Which one should you select? if you can select the interest payment frequency, which one should you select? Yeah, you should go for daily. Yes, higher the compounding number of compounding periods, the better, right? The more frequent the compounding, you get interest on interest for longer. So the other thing is now, what if you are paying interest? Now this is if you are receiving interest. Now if you have made an investment, this is how you should structure it now. More frequent coupon interest payments, right? So the interest payment frequency should be increased. But what if you are paying interest? Then which one should you go for? Then you should go for the longer term, right? So just read the question carefully, whether it's receiving or paying interest, right? And you need to answer accordingly. Okay, now how do you calculate equivalent rate or the annual equivalent rate? Effective rate, sorry, AER. How do you calculate effective rate? So if you have several compounding frequencies, how to calculate effective rate is, now let's say you have quarterly compounding, like quarterly compounding at 10%. % quarterly compounding. Right. Every quarter, your interest gets compounded. Right. If it's quarterly compounding, after 1 year, how much will you get? You're investing 100. Same formula. And 10.38. Right. Okay, so you end up with 110.38. Now, if I were to ask you, what would be the interest rate? Right? What would be the annual interest rate without compounding the annual interest rate, which will give you an equivalent return. How do you calculate the annual interest rate, which will give you an equivalent return? So it will be that it's an annual interest rate, the future value 100 into present value into 1 plus R to the power 1, isn't it? Okay. So if these are equal, your future value should be 110.38, correct? It's 100 into 1 plus 10% divided by 4 into 4. Is equal to 100 times 1 plus R. Okay, so these two cancels off. I'll write it the other way around, it's easier for you to follow that. 100 into 1 plus R is equal to 100 times 1 plus 10% over 4 to the power 4. So 1 plus R which means R is equal to 1 plus 10% over 4 times 4 minus 1 is equal to 10.38. Yeah, so what it means is if you get 10.38% annual interest, it's equivalent to investing on a quarterly basis at 10%. You end up with the same result. So annual interest of 10.38 is the same as quarterly interest of 10%. Right? So that is what you need to do. You need to calculate the annual equivalent rates. So AER will be 100 into 1 plus 10%, 100 into 1 plus R to the power 5. Cancels off, which means your AER equals 10%. Right? Obviously, because if it's annual rate, you have to end up with 10%. And here you get 100 into 1 plus R you're investing for 5 years. 10.25. This will be it's ten point 47. And finally, sorry, this answer I think is wrong. 164.86. $10.52. Okay, so as you can see, daily compounding gives you a high return. Annual rate is high. Okay. Any questions up to now? Right, so let's try these questions. What would the future value of $100 be after 5 years at 10% compound interest? Present value is $100. N is 5. And R is 10. What is the future value? So always write the equation future value, present value into 1 plus R to the power n. Present value is 100, 1 plus 10% to the power 5. $161.05. Okay. Second one. Suppose you have $2,000 and plan to purchase a 3-year CD that pays 4% interest compounded annually. How much will you have when the CD matures? So your present value 2,000. Now it is 4%. N is 3. you are asked to calculate future value. Again, standard equation, present value into 1 plus r into power n, present value 2000, 1 plus r is 4%, n is 3. Two two 2249.73. Company's sales in 2005 was 100 million. Sales grew at 8%. What will they be 10 years later in 2015? So the present value 100 million. R is 8%. N is 10. What is future value? Comes to 215.89. And finally, how much would $1 grow at 5% after 100 years? $13,150. Do you get 131.50, Marisha? Should it not be 13,500? Oh, sorry, it's not $100. It's $1. Yeah, you're right. $1, not $100. So it's 131.50. Correct. Right. Any questions up to now? Yeah. Right. The next area is on present values. If we start it now, we may not be able to cover it in time. So shall we wind up for today and we'll meet next week? Yeah. Or do you all want to do present value also? Okay, so let's call it a day and we'll meet next week. Stay safe. Thank you very much.